Alright, thanks for tuning in, you guys. This is Larsky, the creator of BungeeQueue, and so I wanted to do a quick tutorial on how to use and how to set up, and just the general walkthrough of the basics on how to use this plugin, how to configure it, etc., etc. A lot of the people that use this plugin have trouble with it, mostly because it's difficulty setting it up, or they don't realize what it's supposed to go on, or etc., etc. So, to start off with a few basic questions that I get all the time that I want to get out of the way. This plugin is designed to go on your BungeeQueue server, not your Spigot servers. So if you can see here, I have a handful of servers. So I have example server 1, which is a Spigot based server, or Craft Bucket, or whatever you're using. Example server 2, which is the exact same. And I have my actual BungeeQueue. BungeeQueue, waterfall, forks of BungeeQueue, right? And so I go into my plugins folder here, inside of it, and there's BungeeQueue. You do not want to put it on your Spigot servers. This does not belong on your Spigot servers. It doesn't go in this plugins folder, right? It goes in this one, this folder. After you do that, you start up your server. Okay, so now that we're in, you can see I'm running around like a normal person, right? And you don't need a permission to use the original join command. So now, if I go and do glist, which is global list, that is a BungeeQueue base command that will show me what server I'm on. So I have them named in my config for BungeeQueue, lobby 1 and lobby 2. So I'm technically in lobby 1 right now, as you can see, lobby 1. And so now I'm going to go /join lobby 2. And now I'll do the default message and it will send me right over to lobby 2. And I can verify that I did that by doing /glist, and now I can see we're on lobby 2, right? And so that's the basics of it, right? And so with BungeeQueue, with BungeeQueue, you can change a lot of different things. So these messages right here, for example, these can be changed out. You can change out how long it's going to wait. You can change if it even shows you this part of the message, etc., etc. And that's what I'm going to get to next. So if we close out of this real quick, or I'm just going to minimize it, and then we bring over our BungeeQueue here, right? And I'm just going to end it right now. So we're just going to end it real quick. So we shut it down. So you can see BungeeQueue just did shut down, and it's shutting down, closing all threads, and we can just ignore that for right now because it's going to close on its own. So now we can go over to our BungeeQueue. We can go into plugins, we can go into BungeeQueue, and the config. Alright, so here's BungeeQueue config. Now, this may look different on your text editors. I use Sublime Text, which is a very easy way to edit all of these server text files you have to deal with all the time, right? And so these are explanations, right? And you can see how they're color coded to this. And so what you want to pay attention to is these settings right here. Multiplier, these, etc., etc. And so let's say that I wanted to change how much, how long the queue time is, how fast it gets bigger. So as the explanation says here, if there are 2 players in queue, and the second player has a multiplier of, excuse me, I'm just going to rephrase this. So if I have 2 players in queue, right, and the first person joins, he's going to get whatever this multiplier is, right, times the amount of people that are in queue currently. So he joined the queue, so there's 1 person in queue, and then it's going to multiply times 1. So you have 1 times 1. He's going to get 1 second in queue. Let's say that the second person joins while he's still in queue and has not left yet, right? So in that 1 second span, he joins. So now there's 2 people in queue, right? And it's going to multiply it times 1. So that means this multiplier, what it's going to do is it's just going to make the wait time however long the queue list is. So let's say that we have 200 people in queue. The wait time for the 200th person is going to be 200 seconds, right? And if I want to make that longer, I can do 5. And that means that now whenever this, so if we go back to the same example where we have 1 person joining, the first person is going to have to wait 5 seconds because it's 1 person in queue times 5, that's 5 seconds. And then we have the second person joining, right? So we have 2 people in queue, and we have times 5, so we have 10 seconds, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It just keeps scaling until, everybody joins. And then this one is server size calculated, is pretty obvious. What it does, just change it so that you have the exact same thing going on. But whenever the server that they're trying to queue for, let's say they have 100 people on, it will add however many people are on the server they're queuing for to the wait time. So let's say that we have a multiplier of 1 again. So I'll change this multiplier back to 1. And I'll say, is server size calculated? I'll change it to true, right? And now what that means is that let's say that they queue for lobby 2, our example server, right? And let's say there's 500 people online and there's one person in queue. So the person that's joining the queue, they will have to wait 500 seconds to join. Or excuse me, 501 seconds, because it will do the original math where it says one person in queue, right, times 1 is equal to 1. And then there's 500 people on that server, so it's going to add 500 to it. So it'll be 501 seconds, 500 plus 1. And this is for the donor queue. Works the exact same way. It's just specifically for the donor permission, which is BungeeQueue.donor. And then you have your messages, and above them right here are the available placeholders you can use in the said messages. Not every placeholder is available on every single line, specifically because not all of them can be used. And I'll get to why that is in a second. So, in this, thank you for queuing. You'll be connected in %queue time %, which means that whenever this message is sent, it'll replace queue time with however many seconds they're going to be in queue for. And then you are in %queue position %, which means that it will replace this specific thing I've highlighted with whatever position they are in the queue. And then this changes if it shows the timer or not, which if you want to use the timer right here, you want this to be true. If not, set it to false. Anyways, and fallback server is very important. So you have a Bungee cord file that is your config. So if I go back here and go to my config, right, I look at it, right? So if you look, let's see, you have a fallback server. If it'll let me scroll. Anyways, so you have priorities right here, right? So this would normally be your fallback server, right? So if everything else fails, this is where it's going to go first, right? This lets you define a different one from that. So let's say that you have 10 different lobbies and you want it to fall back, BungeeQueue to fall back onto lobby number 3, and you want your main Bungee cord to fall back onto lobby number 1, you can do that. The difference here is that if a queue fails or something goes absolutely wrong with the queue, right, specifically just the queue, it will fall back to that server. Otherwise, it on the Bungee cord's end, in the Bungee cord config, if all the servers fail and everything is going wrong, the entire server will fall back to that. Your entire network will fall back to that. So to break it down shortly, this fallback server is whenever the queue screws up. This fallback server is for whenever your entire server screws up, or whenever your entire network screws up. Okay, and to continue with this comparison, so we can look right here, and we can see that this is the servers we have listed. So I named them Lobby 1 and Lobby 2, right? So that's the actual names that BungeeQueue will use, is this right here. So if I wanted to change what BungeeQueue will call them, I'll change it to example server. And now whenever I restart this Bungee cord, whenever I want to queue for the server, it will recognize it. I'll have to queue for it by using /join example server. And so that's how you set the names, is in this config right here, in the Bungee cord config, to be more clear. Okay. And then after that, you'll see that we have the maximum size variable right here. And a lot of people get confused about this. A lot of people get confused. And so this is why I want to cover this specifically. So to go back, we can go to our example server. We go to our server.properties. You can see this says properties. Anyways. And so now we can look at this right next to this one. Okay, so now I have them both pulled up here, right? We can see that we have the maximum size right here of 100, right, which is the default. And then we also have our maximum player count somewhere up in here. I can't remember where it is, but actually max players, there you go. So this is the server.properties file for each individual Spigot server. So we are right now looking at server.properties in our Spigot servers, right? This number does not equate to this Maximum size is its own variable. It has nothing to do with max players. BungeeQueue will not care if you have max players set at 10 and this number set at and maximum size set at 10,000, right? So what maximum size is that whenever a server exceeds this amount of players, so let's say that I set this to 5 right here, right? Whenever it exceeds 5, so that means that whenever the 6th person tries to join, this will put them into what is called a waiting queue. And so what a waiting queue is basically it will wait for an open spot to show up. And every player that goes to try to join will get put into that waiting queue until a free spot is available. Once a free spot is available, it will join the player. It checks to see if a new slot is available every 1 second. After that, if a free slot is found, it will join them as fast as possible, or excuse me, it will join them at the queue speed you define, and then it will try to effectively get as many players in as possible before the slot closes. So let's say that you have this set at 5 and all 5 players leave and there's 5 players waiting in the queue, they'll all get put in. So this is the message that they will receive whenever they go into the waiting queue. These are block servers, so these are servers that you define in here that will not be allowed to queue for. So if I tried to queue for it, it would just send me this message. You don't have permission to queue for this server. And these, again, are the same as your config names are for BungeeQueue. So to be more specific with that, let me go pull up BungeeQueue. So go into the config again for BungeeQueue. Right? And so now we're looking at the BungeeQueue again. Right? So you see how it says lobby 1? If I put lobby 1, now this server can no longer be queued for. I can no longer /join to go to this server. So, a few disclaimers on top of this. Whenever you are trying to do /join and a server is full or above maximum size, BungeeQueue.skip will override that and force join them regardless. BungeeQueue.skip is the same as an override permission. You skip the queue and override any queue at all. So it is essentially the same as not even having the queue there in the first place once you do that command. So to continue with a lot of other questions that I get, one of them is how do I integrate them with plugins that I have, such as Deluxe menus, Deluxe Hub, etc., etc. Plugins that are essentially designed to pseudo the user into doing some form of command or joining or clicking on a button or etc., etc. You know, these are plugins that you're going to use inside of your actual servers, right? So let me go spin up my BungeeQueue again. So here we go, we'll run it. So now it's online. And I'll join. So let's say that I want to sudo somebody. Excuse me. I don't have permissions for that. So let's say that I want to, so as you can see, I have my stuff right here. And good luck DDoSing that address because that's a local IP, so you can't do anything with it. Anyways, so let's say that I want to sudo my user, which is me, right? That I don't have any permissions, right? So you can see if I try to do op, I can't do anything, right? Let's say that I want to sudo him to go to a different server. So first, let me find out which server I'm on. So I'm on lobby 2, so I want to sudo him to go to another server. And when I say sudo, I mean that you want to use a command in your Spigot server, this one right here, that's using some form of plugins or whatever you want to use to run the join command. So you'll see I'm using essential sudo. So if I do sudo Larsky join lobby 2, and you'll see that unknown command type /help for help, right? And that is because we're missing a major detail here that has to be on every single one of the servers that you want to run this command on. If you're trying to use a Spigot server command, it does not transfer to BungeeQueue. As you can see right here, the command registered here, but it did not register here. So you need something special to get it from this server over to this server. And so that's what I'm going to show you how to set up. So now we're going to move on, and I'm going to show you how to do this. So first I need to stop my servers. So I'm going to stop that server. I'm going to stop my other example server, and I'm going to stop my BungeeQueue. So now this is where I have my other folder for. So first you're going to take command for Bungee. So think about that name, command for Bungee cord. So this is the thing that sends commands. So now I'm going to go into my Spigot servers with the command for Bungee. I'm going to paste it in. So now I have command for Bungee inside of my Spigot server. I'm going to go to my other Spigot server. I'm going to put it in. And there's command for Bungee. And then I'm going to grab my command for me, so the Bungee cord itself. I copy that, take it over to my Bungee cord, put it in the plugins folder. Okay, and now everything should work perfectly fine, and we should be good to go. So now I'm going to start up my Bungee cord. So we can see it's online. There's command for me running right there. And I can go over to my example server, run it. It's booting up. We don't need to worry about it. It'll boot up, right? And then we can go over to our other example server. And here we go. So now we're in. And now if I want to sudo somebody to move to a different server, so first let me look at which server we're in again. So we're in lobby 2, right? So we can see that I logged in right here. There's me. So now if I go sudo Larsky, and the command does change here. So it's going to be Bungee player join, and then lobby 1. And you can see it just worked. See, so connecting, please wait, thank you for queuing, and now we can verify that I'm in lobby 1. And you can see, lobby 1, Larsky. Anyway, so that being said, all you need to do is get the player to run the command BungeeQueue, Bungee player join, and the server name. And you'll see a big white text on screen right now. Other than that though, if you guys have any more questions, feel free to join my support Discord. It's posted on my Spigot page, and if you guys want to help out, do some testing, there's plenty of test jars there that you can try out to see the newest features that you might be looking for.